I've been in quite a lot of danger this week, mainly from my wife murdering me because of how many parts I've ordered for this car. Obviously, one of the things I've been doing as I've been taking everything off the car is making a list of everything that needs replacing. It's basically everything. If things are good, I'm not replacing them, obviously. There's 101 things I could do whilst the engine's out and whilst I've got the gearbox out. But I don't want this project car to stay a project car. I want to fix what needs fixing, get it running, and then in the future, if something I've left on my car doesn't need replacing, then so be it. So, for those of you that are interested, my wife is watching, you might want to look away now or just skip ahead because you might want to kill me. I've ordered full new hose kit, primer and paints for the engine mainly, new bolts and plug for the sump gasket, suspension rebuild kit. Now normally I wouldn't buy just generic bolts, although I've just said I've bought the sump plug bolts kit. It comes with all the bushes, bolts and everything that I need for both sides of the front suspension, so I thought that was worth it. Sway bar links, both sides, sway bar brackets and fittings, new belt, throttle, clutch and choke cables, new gaiters for the steering rack, track rod ends, bump stop kits for both sides, cable from the battery to the solenoid. Wouldn't have actually needed this, but I got frustrated and I cut it, and this was really expensive. So I'm a bit annoyed at myself for that one. Thermostat and gasket, thermostat housing, a cork seal, plug and some bolts. I don't know what I ordered those bolts for. New water pump that doesn't look like it's just come out the sea, and a gasket for it. Clutch release bearing, clutch slave cylinder, a refurbished front shock. This was quite cool. So Moss Europe, I think I ordered it through. They were the only ones that had these in stock. You pay for this to be delivered, a fully refurbished and checked over unit, and then as long as you send back yours that's not too far gone, they'll refund you. I think it was about half what I paid I get back as a refund, so that was well worth it, I think, because one of ours was just completely gone. It had been leaking and I didn't want to, that's not something that I felt confident in doing anything with. So yeah, bushes for mounting the front cross member. And finally, I have a full new inner wing for the right hand side. So you may have seen me already. I was trying to drill a bolt out on the right inner wing, and where the box section attaches to the inner wing, it had rusted so badly. As I was drilling, it all just cracked. And I was so disheartened that I packed up and I left it for the day. And I went home and I thought, I can't afford to spend. These are about £325, I think, which is like $375, something like that. And I just went online, just did a quick search. There was a guy about 25 minutes away from where I live selling this, and he sold it to me for £125. And real friendly guy. If he somehow watches this, thanks a lot. He bought this for a car he was working on, and then found out that the shell and all the rails were just way too far gone. So he bought a better conditioned shell, and its inner wing was fine. So he sold me this for a fraction of what he paid for it, and it's going to save me so much time, heartache, and you won't see any of my horrible welding when we get to paint the engine bay. So really appreciate that. I believe his name was Tom. He was awesome, and it was just perfect timing finding that. So that's another job, and I need to do that fairly soon if I want to get the engine bay fitted. However, it gets a bit frustrating just taking things off this car and finding more rust and welding and breaking things. So now I've got all these parts, I've got to do something with them. So I'm gonna shift some attention, and yes, I know I'm all over the place with this, but I'm trying to keep it interesting for myself. So I'm gonna shift my focus now to the engine and gearbox, clean them up, get them painted, get a few of these new parts on them, and then they're done. They're ready to go back in the car when I finish the wing and paint the engine bay. So let's get started on that now. Oh yeah, and A up and welcome and all of that. Murphy, what are you doing? I look away 2 seconds and this is what he's doing. Just taking the starter off and I found this. I was panicking thinking I've just broken it, but that looks like it's been broken for a while. Irritating. Oi!
What?
Job's over there.
Oh, get lost.
Whoa. Beautiful oil. My camera battery died, so I don't know whether I got it on camera. Basically, we've had this outside and I jet washed it. Should I have jet washed it? Probably not, but just got all the loose paint off. Anything that's on there now is well and truly on there because it's withstood the jet wash. So got the pan off, found a few decades worth of gunk, and I've taken the oil pump out as well. It's nice and stable. It'll be fine. And the plan is, I'm just going to sand it down a bit over the existing paint, what's left of the existing paint. Sand down what I can to get a good surface, and then once I'm happy with it, I'll put a primer on this, clean out all the old gunk and rubbish that's in the oil pan, clean the pump, and then we'll primer and paint these separately. And then once we're happy, we'll get it all back together, and then we can start putting some new parts on it. So let's see how we get on. Maybe I was wrong that just because this paint survived the pressure washer, it was well and truly on there, because I've managed to get quite a lot more off. I've masked off what I think needs masking off. I was just about to do the final bit of sanding, cleaning, and then do a coat of primer, but I feel like I'm rushing and I might be able to prep this better than I've already done. At this point I'm thinking, with how much time I've spent, why didn't I just wire wheel it like I have with everything else? But I'm too far into this now, doing it the way I'm doing it, so I'm sticking with it. But I am going to leave it for today, come back tomorrow just to make sure I'm not rushing, check that I've prepped it as good as I can, and then we'll start painting it up. But I think I've prepped it well enough. I think it'll come out pretty well, but we'll see. Done as much as I'm willing to do, I think, on this, so hopefully it'll be fine. I think at this point I've just got to give it a go, so I'm going to paint it and hope for the best. Well, that's annoying. I forgot to press record on my camera, so you didn't see any of that. But I've just primed it, and it's showing up some areas which I definitely could have prepped it better. A lot of areas, probably, but I think I knew that. I've put so many hours into it. It's still going to give it a bit of a freshen up, and I think it'll look a lot better once it's done still. I'll make sure I press record when I actually cover it in black paint. That's enough for today, I think. I was panicking when it was in the sunlight and it was still wet because it was so shiny. It was showing up every single little bump and imperfection. I was worrying that I'd made the wrong choice, but now it's drying a little bit and it's not in the sunlight, it's not in the direct sunlight. I'm quite pleased with it, actually. I've painted the dipstick handle and the front pulley aluminium to sort of start that silver on black look that I was talking about. I think I could have done with an extra coat on it. There's just a couple of bits that aren't perfect, but I can just touch those areas up, I'm sure. The tappet covers and the engine mounts are just drying. I've painted them black as well. I was toying with the idea of painting them aluminium, but I think those on aluminium might have been a bit much. I think it'll look all right with all the silver bits bolted on. This needs cleaning up, but it sort of gives you an idea. Just rest that on there. Sort of gives you an idea of how it's starting to look, and I think I'm glad that I've gone with black. I wasn't a massive fan of the red. I don't really like it when I see these red engines. Yeah, they pop in the engine bay, but I think this has a nicer look. Not everyone will agree, but each to their own. I sacrificed these spark plugs because I'm going to replace them anyway, and it just protected those entry points. Yeah, overall pretty pleased. I'm not going to be able to work on this for maybe like another week now, so I'm just going to leave it, let it all set, and then I might do a couple of touch-ups here and there where I feel like I've missed, or I could have added a bit of an extra coat, and then I'll get the sump done, bolted back on, and then start putting some of those new bits on. I'm also going to use the aluminium paint was a bit of a test because it's the paint that I bought to try and do the exhaust manifold with. So it's come out pretty well. So I think I'm going to give the exhaust manifold a go as well once I get those studs out, because one of them definitely, I think maybe two, need drilling out. But yeah, that's it for today. Hopefully I can get it finished next week for me. A couple of minutes for you guys. This gasket has set me back a bit because this one that arrived is absolutely rubbish. So I've had to order a new one, and this one has now arrived. A lot better, so I can crack on and get this sump back on now. Come out alright, hasn't it? I think it's come out alright anyway. So we've got the sump back on, cleaned up the oil pump, new gasket, new water pumps on, engine mounts back on, new bolts everywhere, mostly. Like any job I'm doing on this car. It's not quite finished yet, but it's all that I'm going to do in this video. Can't put the tappet covers back on yet because I'm waiting for the gaskets to arrive, and I still need to clean up the rocker cover and put the new gasket on for that as well. But we're getting there. There's a few bits that I've missed and that could definitely benefit from a touch-up, but nothing I'm going to lose sleep over, and I'll just touch them up when I can be bothered. I think it's definitely freshened it up a little bit, but again, some really good progress, and that's all we're looking for. Little bits of progress and we'll get there in the end. In the next video, I need to pull my finger out and stop putting off that inner wing. I've been putting it off for a while, refurbing all the front suspension and now painting the engine, so that's enough of that. Next video, I'll crack on with that other inner wing, or I'll make a start on it at least, and we'll see how bad that gets. We didn't finish the gearbox in this video. My dad has been working on that. I'll show more of what he's done on that when we finish the rest of it. So when we get the clutch slave cylinder on it and the release bearing, and that might be it. So when we finish off these last little bits of the engine, we'll do the gearbox at the same time, and I'll show you the bits that my dad's been working on then. But that's it for this video. Thanks again for watching, everyone. Appreciate all the comments, spurring me on. I've needed it at times, especially when I've got to drag myself to start looking at all the rust again. So appreciate that, and I'll see you guys in the next one.